All right, looks like we are live. Welcome everyone to Through the Portal. Together we step across the threshold into vision, creativity, and the deeper stories waiting to emerge. Today I have Rachel Connor with me of Wordplay Coaching. She is a coach, mentor, facilitator who supports people to transform fear and creative blocks into powerful expression of their light and authentic selves. Welcome, Rachel.
Thank you, Maria. It's good to be here.
Yeah, let's arrive. Let's start out. Give us a little bit more detail about your work and what you, what's kind of been alive for you recently, maybe this month or another few months. Just what are you doing right now?
Okay, thanks for that. What's alive? I think what's most alive is the growth of my beautiful community, which at the moment is quite small, but really powerful. And we're increasingly, all of us, like the whole group, me too, stepping into more visibility, more showing up in how we really are, flaws and all, supporting each other in our vulnerability. So I can really see in the members of the community this sort of, they're really harnessing all of their courage, which is really what it's about for me. So this phrase creative courage is something that's really meaningful to me. And I guess as I've got more clear about that, the importance of that, and my vision to support people in that, it's also allowed me or encouraged me to connect backwards through my life. And I can really see a very clear path as to why I've arrived in this place and why it's so important to me, this concept of courage and creativity and helping people, because I realize how much I've held myself back through my life, from very early life, from that really full expression of who I am. And yeah, so my work now really is to support people in group situations, in my circle. It's called the Creative Courage Circle, and also working one-to-one with people as well, where we can really dive deep. And that work supports what happens in the circle as well. And we dive into core fears and survival mechanisms, and how those survival mechanisms create behaviors that stop us expressing authentically and with our light and in our essence. So I talk a lot about essence as well.
Mm-hmm. So the members are mostly writers. I understand that right?
They are mostly writers, but not exclusively so. And what's happened for me in my journey is that, I have been a writer. I've published fiction. I've published short stories. I've had plays performed. So I've been a writer in that sense. And yet, over the past few years, I think what's become clear is that identity of a writer doesn't really serve me anymore. That my own experience and understanding of creativity has really broadened enormously. And so I think what's happened is that the people who are showing up to work with me and to join the community are not necessarily writers, but really want to embrace their creativity in that broader sense. And of course, I also have lots of support and wisdom to offer to writers too, because I have also walked that path. So yes, they're writers, and then also people who don't necessarily write. And also they're people who, if they are writing, that they have to be interested in and committed to doing the deeper inner work. So I'm not there to just support writers with the technical stuff, with the craft. I can do that, of course, but that for me, the issues that show up on that level of craft or technique are always to do with the inner work, like what gets in the way on the inside, which is fear, or fear of judgment, or fear of being visible, all of those things. So the writers I work with are those who are willing to really engage in that inquiry about who they are on the inside.
So tell me a little bit about how you got to this point. Like what, like a little bit of a backstory. Like why is this important to you?
Mm. Yeah. Um, as a child and a young adult, I feel I had so much to express that I wanted to, and held myself back. Fear of being judged, fear of upsetting people, fear of not being good enough. So I was a big perfectionist as a teenager. And I remember, I was doing my sort of high school exams in the time before computers were a thing. So we had to handwrite everything, all our essays, all our projects. And I remember writing like 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 drafts until it was literally perfect. There were no crossings out. And my teacher saying, "Oh, this is not sustainable. You cannot live your life this way." And I was like, "That's fine. It has to be perfect." So that's the kind of context in which I grew up. And I feel like as I've progressed through my life, I was an academic achiever. I did my degree. I went on and did higher degrees. I became an academic. I was a professor, and teaching other people and lecturing and showing up in some ways. Like people would say, "Well, you're really visible. You're lecturing to hundreds of students." That's a kind of showing up, but it wasn't the real me. There was a sort of performing an identity. And I feel the same with my writing journey. Also, like I wasn't prepared to show the mess to the world. So what happened is that one of my mentors actually said, "You're so good at papering over the cracks so that people don't really see what's on the inside." I write well. I think I write fluently, and so people just kind of skim along on the surface, and then maybe not really see the workings out, under the surface. So I guess the answer to why am I here, how did I get here, why is it important, is because I have experienced for myself how much that can hold us back from really embracing who we are, from really finding the courage to show up with the imperfect, in the mess, not having all the answers, not knowing where I'm going, And so increasingly, I really rely on this faith in something bigger than myself to point the way, which has been a huge shift for me. And the liberation that comes from that is really what I want to allow others to experience and to facilitate in other people.
Yeah, like allowing the vulnerability and opening yourself up. That's hard.
Yeah, really hard. And, I feel like it's required me to really let go of those labels and identities. Like I'm no longer a writer. I'm no longer an academic. I'm no longer even a coach or a mentor. It's like I struggle with those labels. It's like, what do you do is the common question. What do you do? I feel like coach doesn't actually capture what I do. And it's hard to kind of put it into words. So there's a sort of letting go of the sort of the labels that indicate the doing, and a stepping more into the being and becoming, which is really hard, because how do we find our place in the world? How do we navigate, our culture, the structures and the language of our society that sort of really prioritizes things like doing, things like output as opposed to process. So yeah, it's difficult because we're relying on the invisible and our intuition much more, I think, in that space.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I feel that this also for words that way, if if you want to express yourself, it's always for me, completely different story because I'm not very, I'm more visual. So, expressing myself with writing has always been, or at least I labeled myself as, I'm not a writer, I can't do this. But, if you embrace the not label
Mm,
and not having to define exactly what it is,
mm,
um, because we're all so much bigger than one of those things.
absolutely.
Every human being,
Absolutely. And I think when we get stuck on that kind of, oh, I can't express myself in writing, it's often because of our educational experiences or our conditioning, from our youth or our childhood, which is, we must write in this way. It has to be this way. And it has to, yeah, it has to appear a certain way. And actually, when we let go of the mechanisms for writing and focus more on what it is that we want to say and why and how we can connect
yeah.
with people rather than the systems and processes. The language is the vehicle, and we focus too much on the vehicle and what it looks like and what it should be than the message itself, and the why of that, and the sheer joy of expressing who we are and what we feel and what we think, and then connecting with other people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean the connecting is really, I think that's really the big one. It's that feedback loop, right? Where you're like,
Yeah.
okay, so I expressed myself, but how did that land? Like, what does that mean to you? And then you can go back and connect over that and talk over that, um and you have all the freedom. This is
Mm.
kind of like where poetry is a little bit easier that way, I think, because
Mm.
it's given more freedom to be versus other writing.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, if I think about it, like I think about art in a visual art perspective, it's kind of a similar thing. Um, a lot of the times when we think about academia and the school system, um, schooling system or education systems in the Western world, there's always this drive to uniformity or to this is how you do it and this is how it's
Mm.
done right. And it often neglects really the play and the intuition or the heart centeredness, right?
Yeah,
Of,
exactly. And
of
it doesn't really create or sustain aliveness, right? Because what we're talking about, whether it's visual arts, whether it's writing, it doesn't matter what the vehicle is, but it's about feeling that aliveness, as an individual, and also kind of creating the conditions for other people who are reading or watching or receiving your
hmm
transmission, to feel alive. I think that's what it's about, and we forget that. I think we're so focused on the yeah, how we do it. Like, it's the school system, the education system does flatten that aliveness and the uniformity that you're talking about. It because it's neater, it's easier, right? Because
hmm
everything can be contained. It's not subversive. It's easy to grade, to assess, all of those things. And so we really absorb that way of thinking and being with
hmm
expression. I think it really does a lot of damage.
hmm Yeah,
Mm.
because you're stripping all of the complexity from,
Yeah, exactly.
a person or
Exactly.
and
Mm.
and it's just so, the expression, especially in connection with others,
Mm.
right? It's just so important. If you think about um humans, just, art and language and all of these things, how they change and don't, right? If
Mm.
you think about some of these, um, I always find it fascinating when they have archaeological finds, and then there is um, some things that are just the same, even so it's been so long ago. The same problems like the normal, ordinary person has, and they're writing about it, or you know,
Mm,
I
mm.
recently saw something from I think it was like Roman, um, like a student, and he was complaining about, his teacher and his parents, and it was funny. So
Mm.
yeah, yeah, I think that's yeah, yeah, and that can really really block you then, right? So
Yeah, I think our creativity is an amazing way to for us to step outside of those very limiting stories, whether that's parents or teachers at school. You know, through our creativity, we can reframe and restory ourselves and our experience in order to then have a
mhm,
more liberated experience of being alive. I think that's what being alive is. Being a human being is about stepping more and more into that space of openness, generativeness, creativity, liberation, freedom. You know, for me,
mhm,
that's what it is, you know. And we think of creativity in such a small, limited way, like it's painting a picture or it's writing a book. I mean, yes, for sure, creativity is necessary for those things, but it's not just that, you know, I think it's about our capacity to step into choice and to see the way or to change the way we see ourselves and the world and other people. You know, that
mhm.
inherently is creativity as far as I'm concerned. I don't know if that's what you think too. You
No,
know, how do you see creativity?
yeah, I think this is the same thing. It's really the um, being open to new things and being open to like the creativity is also kind of the curiosity and the experimentation. So I think science can be very creative, which is counterintuitive. The way we do things, the way we, just
Mm,
everything, we can be creative with, right?
mm,
I mean, if you say it this way, you can do things in so many ways. And I think that's very unique to. I mean, there's a huge thing with humans that the ability we have to be creative and think outside the box and invent new things.
mm, mm.
I think invention is highly creative. You know,
Yeah, I agree. I
Mm,
agree. Yeah.
um, yeah. I mean, stepping beyond just the mere um, survival and instincts and this is how we do it all the time. Um, yeah, it's mostly play
Yeah,
for
I
me.
agree. I agree. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. For the joy of it, you know, because we can, because we are blessed with
Hmm.
the capacity of having an imagination. Yeah,
Exactly.
definitely. Mm,
And this way we can imagine and create um, so many different. We can change the world, our world. Um, you know, it's impressive how different things can be. If you think about like creativity and like just human history and how incredibly complex and different, and yet the human connection and the creativity is always the same thread, but you have so many different ways of living and of
mm.
thinking, and like it's incredible, what humans are capable of. So I
Yeah,
always
great.
love that.
Infinite possibilities, infinite possibilities. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what creativity connects us to also, like all of these different choices. You know, if we just try and play, oh, let's try this way, you know. Um, And obviously a life is finite. We only have so many choices we can make, and you know, in that sense. But I think for me, I feel most alive when I'm most connected to that sense of possibility of what could be, you know. That's the most alive feeling of all for me, like the choices that I have in front of me. Something very energizing about that for me.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. But I love that you brought up we only have so much time and life is finite. Because I think that's kind of plays into what you were talking about your work is, being okay with the choice you made then, right? And just
Mm-hmm.
being okay going one path and not finding the perfect path or, you know, um, trying out all of the other paths. Like, that's
Yeah,
kind of the
absolutely. I mean,
balance there.
yeah, I sometimes feel like I've had, 3 or 4 different lives in a way, in terms of the choices I've made, and at various points I've pivoted, and in my personal life as well as my professional life, let's say. And at the same time, like all of those choices and those paths have led to where I am now. I couldn't be where I am now if I hadn't, let's say, decided to become an academic rather than write creatively, which was the decision I made when I was very young, like 20 or something. And then the decision to write and to do that for a while, all of those have been the foundation for where I am. And so, yes, life is finite. It's about accepting, okay, I made this decision. And then there's something about, well, I made the decision, and that's kind of enfolded into where I'm moving next, or who I am now as well at the same time. Yeah, it's fascinating.
Yeah, I love that.
Mm.
Yeah. If you think about your group and the people you help,
Mm.
what do you think when you think about the work you do and what is the most important thing or what would you hope that you can really impart or help people with? Like, if there's one thing that you could do for them, what is this thing? What do you want to see the
Mm.
change or something that you do see already and like that lights you up and you think like this is it, like, when people have this
Mm.
new perspective or whatever it is. So like, what is that? Like, what do you think?
Yeah, 2 things I think really, and I see this constantly. I mean, we just had a group call yesterday, and I'm just amazed by what can happen, the transformation that can happen in a short space of time. A 10-minute conversation. So we have a kind of people bring their questions, bring their areas of exploration, and we work with those. And so what lights me up and what I want for people, the people that I help, number one, to accept who they really are, to kind of turn towards themselves and the shadow parts and the bits that they don't like, or that they fear, or that hold them back, like to really shine the light of compassion on those parts of themselves, because those parts have really supported all of us to survive, sometimes to thrive as well in a certain way. So they have their place and they should be honored. So I want that kind of like self-compassion piece is really important. And then to be able to step into the agency of choice, like that we've just been talking about, having the capacity to think differently, to reframe, to see their choices differently through questions, through self-inquiry, through writing sometimes. I mean, we do journal, quite a bit. So we use writing as a tool for self-exploration. And I sometimes do that in my one-to-one work also. We might take 5 minutes during a session to like really explore these ideas that are coming up, or these questions coming up. So number one, to be more compassionate with themselves, and number two, to see themselves and the world differently as a result of different perspectives.
Yeah, I love that. That's beautiful.
And really, yeah, really, both of those things are. I mean, I suppose that yeah, as I'm saying that, that's two. There are two pieces, but really, above all of that is for the person, for all of us to feel more whole. This is really what it's about: to feel more of ourselves, to feel more alive, even with the uncomfortable parts. You know, even with the fear, to actually accept and integrate all of that. I mean, that I suppose that's really the answer to your question. Actually, when I think about it, is I'm here to support people to feel more whole. Yeah.
Yeah. That's really what it's about. I mean, as we see that so much that people don't feel whole, even so they really are, right?
Mm. Oh, there's
Why do
so
you
much
think?
in the world. Yeah, yeah.
I know.
Mm.
Why do you think that's important to feel whole?
Oh, I think we just live a fuller life. We experience life more. We're more engaged with life. You know, so even in the challenges, even with the resistance, even with the fears, even with the avoidance, we can choose to close down around that and to avoid it, to not go there or not engage with it, not to have a dialogue with it. And then we're cutting off that whole part of ourselves, and we're only operating in a more limited capacity. And also all of that stuff, the avoidance, the fear, you know, the shadow, the challenge, that's all pointing us towards the ways that we can grow. So to have this experience of transformation, of like taking that difficult stuff and using it as the fuel for transformation so that we can then be more ourselves, more alive. I feel like that's just, it's how I want to live my life. I feel like when I engage in those processes with people and they have that experience, and you know, it's an ongoing, it's a lifetime. Of course, we can't transmute everything. We can't transmute all that shadow into light. You know, it's a lifelong process, right? But to be engaged in that process continually, to show up every day, knowing that we've chosen to live life that way, I just think it's a much more full and juicy experience of being a human.
Yeah.
And it opens us to source, you know, to that beyond us that we've touched on as well, to other people, to this ecosystem of hearts and souls that we're part of in our human existence. You know, it's the potential to do that I think is really what we're here for as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of like the analogy with the light and the dark in the way where, you know, people say, okay, well, you're transmuting or you're turning everything into light, but that's not how I really view it. I often think about it as, so you're illuminating something that was in shadow, right? It doesn't mean it's gone. It's not gone. It's just you see it, right? And it's
Yeah.
not scary anymore.
Yeah,
You don't
exactly.
have to
That's it.
avoid it. You don't have to
Yeah,
avoid it.
exactly.
You're not gonna trip over it.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
first
it.
bit, eh?
Yeah, that's it. Not being afraid of it, just to be more attuned to it and to the messages and the gifts that it has for us, which is, you know, to keep evolving, keep growing, to keep continually evolving. I think that's it really. It points us the way. It illuminates, as you said. It's not something to be conquered or overcome. Because if we completely get rid of shadow, then we're no longer alive. We're not human, because there has to be this balance with the light and the shadow, I feel.
Right,
Mm.
right. And
Mm.
difficult feelings are just as much part of us. I mean, they're important, right? They
Exactly.
give us.
Yeah.
I mean, I've talked about this so much in previous um, sessions, and the just experience of different feelings, even, you know, the ones that you want to get, you know, usually like you want to not see or ignore or get rid of or fix or
Mm.
something, right?
Mm.
They're not there to be fixed. They're
No.
there to give you a message of, as you said, where we can grow, or maybe where something is, where there is something out of balance.
Mm.
If you think about, um, you were talking about earlier that you were so perfectionistic as a kid or as a, in the beginning, and you completely wanted to not have anything to do with the mess and didn't want to see any messiness. And I think, being able to look at the mess and seeing that, what, the mess is actually the creative part. The mess is the play, the things
Exactly.
not
Yeah.
getting completely formed yet, right? Or
Mm.
whatever.
Mm.
So, and then allows you
Absolutely. Yeah.
to
Mm.
be more creative, right?
Mm.
Being able to look at it and being able to incorporate it and see it for what it is. So I love that.
Mm.
Are you ready to transition?
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely. Hmm.
Yeah,
Mm.
I want to start. So the next part, what I usually do in these sessions is a little visualization meditation,
Mm.
and then I'm gonna switch my camera and I'm gonna paint. I'm gonna do a drawing of, if you can share what came up for you.
Mm. Beautiful.
We can
Yeah.
talk about that a little. Okay. You ready?
Mm.
All right. So let's get comfortable. Close your eyes. Sorry for my slight sore throat here. Mhm. And let's just come into the moment and relax. That's all we need to do right now. Breathe. Feel in your body if there's any tension somewhere. Usually the shoulders or maybe hands on your face somewhere. You just breathe in, and when you breathe out, just kind of soften those areas, those muscles, smooth it out. Let the tightness go. Relax into this moment. There's nothing else you need to do right now. Nothing to worry about in the past or future. That's in the future. The past is in the past. We're just here right now. And relax. Be comfortable in this moment. And I want you to feel the connection to this beautiful earth that's holding us, that will always hold us. As long as you're on earth, you will feel gravity, the connection in your feet, maybe your sit bones. Feel being held always. Something we can rely on. And then I want you to shift your attention to the space around your heart space, and then just breathe into there. You can put your hand there if you want to. And breathe, energizing breath into that space of connection, the love, your passions, the heartbreak, what drives you to do what you do, and that recognizes the love. Just breathe into there. Take the energy from all around into that space. With warm and glowing energy. And then I want you to slowly move your attention from your heart to the space between your brows and connect it with your heart space. And then breathe into there. Breathe the energy into there. Still connected to the heart. Going. And then from that space, imagine an inner doorway, a portal opening up. Having a little bit tickle. So you must just think about the portal in front of you, which is the doorway to this inner space that is your vision and path on this more symbolic and intuitive knowing of. And when you're ready, I want you to step in. And I want you to just let it surround you. Just feel how it feels. How does this space feel? And let's go through our senses. See if you can smell anything. And then shift our attention to our ears. See if there's any sound. And focus on sense of touch. Feel anything, the texture of the ground, the quality of the air brushing on your. Does it feel hot or cold? Movement, maybe sunlight, warmth. And then look around. What do you see? Kind of objects or beings or landscapes? What appears? You can look at the foreground, what's close by, and then look into the distance. Just take it all in. Just be there and curious. What is emerging? And this is your space. So imagine it has a voice and wants to tell you a message. And that might be words, it might be a feeling. But what is that message? What is it trying to tell you? And let's just be in this space for a few more minutes, actually a few more seconds. And then we'll say our goodbyes and thank the space for being there. We know that we can come back anytime we want. It's always there within us. And when you're ready, you slowly come back through the portal and feel yourself in your body again. Feel yourself sitting. And then you can wiggle your fingers, roll your shoulders a little bit. You can open your eyes. And we're back. I've had a little bit of a tickle at the end
Yeah,
there.
I heard.
Oh, yes.
Mm.
And of
Mm.
course, I don't have a drink nearby. And that's not very helpful. I'm gonna have a little cough drop here just to soothe that. There we go. That should help. Sorry, I'm talking with something in my mouth now, but
Well, that's okay. Ah. Mm. Mm.
how was it?
Very powerful, very powerful, and quite simple actually. The space was just right there. I didn't have to think. It sort of opened up before me. It was amazing. Thank you for for facilitating that. It was really beautiful.
All right, I'm going to switch my camera.
Mm.
So here's my little. So people can see, or you can see it also what I'm doing.
Mm.
All right, let's go back to the moment you stepped in through the
Mm.
portal. Okay,
Mhm.
and just kind of walk me through it. Like what happened, what appeared.
Mm. Yeah, so the door itself of the portal was actually transparent, like glass or something. It's like a sliding door, which surprised me. So I could already see the space like through the glass.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yet, although I could see it, there was something that happened in that stepping in, which was, inhabiting that space in real time with the senses.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, so the first thing that I was really aware of was this lighthouse immediately in front of me. That was literally
What
the
what
first
was
thing I
it?
noticed. A lighthouse.
A lighthouse.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's, kind of directly ahead of me. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so that's where my attention went, immediately stepping through.
Hmm.
Mm,
Is
yeah.
it a lighthouse that you've seen before, or?
No, I mean, I have been to, I'm sure I've visited lighthouses, but I don't know, there was a sense of like, yeah, there was a real sense of like, this lighthouse has been waiting for me somehow. So there was a sense of familiarity about it, but it's not like, I couldn't tell you like exactly in where it's located in the world, if that makes sense. It's just like, oh yeah, the lighthouse, I know this place, um, which is really interesting.
Mm-hmm. Did you notice anything else, like any sounds or anything close by?
Yeah, so as soon as I'd sort of noticed the lighthouse and taken that in, what I could then see was, the landscape surrounding it. So I was really aware of, where I was standing, like on this sort of rocky path. So the kind of rocky um, landscape immediately in front of me.
Mm-hmm.
And then behind, sort of as my attention sort of moved outwards, there was this sense of the horizon, the expansive sky. So it's like my experience was, sort of three zones, if you like, of like my immediate surroundings, like a rocky path, and all of the shrubs and plants that were kind of in that space. And then the lighthouse, and then beyond the lighthouse, the sea, the sky, the clouds. Mm.
Mm-hmm. Hmm. So let's come to this part of the message.
Mm.
Let's step back. Let's think about just how it felt. So
Mm. Mm.
what was standing there? What was
Yeah,
that?
well, as I was standing there, yeah, so listening to the sound, so the waves, the birds, that was very clear to me. The sounds of the seabirds sort of circling, um, and then there was a breeze, which was really so I felt really enlivened and energized in this space. Like it wasn't cold, but there was a sense of like the breeze on my face.
Which is fresh.
Yeah, alive. Yeah, fresh, alive, movement in a sense.
Hmm.
The air moving. I was very conscious of that. So it felt yeah, joyful, enlivening. Those are the words that come to me about how it felt.
Hmm.
Mm.
And do you think, did you hear anything, any message that the space gave you? Was it communicating something?
Yeah, so that what came through was be a consistent light.
Hmm. Be very consistent.
Be a consistent light. Yeah. And also, the word pulsing came up as well. I don't really know what that means, but
Hmm.
pulsing. Mm.
Like a light,
The light,
a
yeah,
light thing.
yeah. I mean, the light is, yeah. I don't know. Just that I don't know what it means. So the words, the be a consistent light was a really, it came through as a really clear phrase, But then
Hmm.
it's almost like then there was this um sensation, or I can't really explain it. Just a sense of this pulsing. And I think it's to do with maybe it was to do with the movement of the light in the lighthouse. That goes round, doesn't it,
Hmm.
consistently? Um, but I think it's more than just describing the motion of the light. I don't quite know what it means. Pulsing. Maybe it's linked to
Hmm.
aliveness. I don't know. That's a bit
Hmm.
more mysterious. That's a bit more mysterious, that part for me. But yeah, it's there.
More visible. Pulsing. Well,
Mm.
pulsing is definitely alive.
Yeah, I guess.
Alive and alight.
Mm.
Hmm. Aliveness. So you are the lighthouse.
I guess. Yeah.
There you
Mm. Mhm. Beautiful.
Yeah. So if I can
And
make
the
it
color of
bigger.
the sea, by the way, the color of the sea, yeah, I love it. The color that you've chosen for the sea is exactly how I saw it, actually. Like it's like a
Huh,
greeny blue. Yeah, like a greeny blue. Yeah. Isn't that interesting?
cool.
Amazing.
Awesome.
Huh. Well, thank you, Maria. It's
You're welcome.
beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. Share my camera again. Change my camera. There
Mm,
Yeah, I'll definitely send you a copy of that. That's
thank
beautiful.
you. Mm, yeah, clear. I guess yeah, I know, it doesn't have to make sense, but it was just very clear, the vision, stepping through the portal.
Hmm.
It was all there, like a whole world, a bit like, the Narnia books, the Chronicles, you step through the wardrobe, it's like there's this whole world behind that. There's just, I saw this snapshot of it, but it's sort of there and felt very real, very tangible. So,
Hmm.
testament to the quality of the connection and the conversation we had before. And then, yeah, it felt very easy to drop into that space. So, thank you for that.
That's awesome. Yeah, you're welcome.
Mm.
I'm happy that it, it worked, even with my tickly throat.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I still felt
Um,
connected. Mm.
and that's really where what I'm hope to achieve, right? Is where I hope to help people get into this additional layer of knowing what they are doing and what it's kind of also a confirmation of this is your path and this is why you're doing it. Hmm. Like
Mm.
the
Mm.
feeling, the feeling of it. This is what this feels like
Yeah, exactly.
inside.
That feeling state, that feeling state. Yeah, it's hard to put words to it. I mean, words are necessary in order to translate the feeling so that you can then capture it visually. But there's so much more there than just the words. There is that feeling
Hmm.
state. And being the lighthouse, be a consistent light. That's such an amazing mantra to land
Hmm.
on. And to take away, as well as the feeling states and the beautiful image. It's also like, oh yeah, that affirmation, being the consistent light. Mm.
Yeah,
Beautiful. Thank you so
I
much.
love that. Yeah. Now you can think about that when it gets tough sometimes, which happens.
Yeah, it does. And also, it strikes me that, by doing this process and affirming that, you, Maria, are also supporting the people I work with, the community that I serve, because if I can, be more connected to that vision of who I am and what I'm here for, then I serve them more powerfully too. So I love that there's this like
Hmm.
ecosystem that happens there around that. So yeah, thank you for that too.
It's like I like to call it rhizomatic, like
Yeah, I
the
love that. Yeah, exactly. All those invisible roots
mycelium,
under the ground. Yeah, yeah,
all the
exactly.
roots,
Exactly.
and
Love it.
then one root went to you, and then it went to all of you people.
Exactly. It's
Beautiful.
that's what it's about. That's how we're
Yeah.
connected. Yeah. Mm,
Hmm.
beautiful.
Well, I didn't see anyone on the live saying anything. Now it is quite early. All my European folks are on.
It's very early in the US. um,
That's
yeah,
okay.
and that's all right. Yeah, but well, thank you. Anyway, it's a beautiful experience, and also, there's the recording, right, which is so valuable as well. Um, yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. And yeah, if anyone, I'm gonna post the replay, the recap, and the image.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you. Yeah,
And
thank
thanks
you.
everyone who joined, despite the early hours. Although if you're in Europe, it's not early for you. Um, and then I'm just gonna go and make my breakfast and my coffee now.
I think you've earned it, Maria. Yeah, have a good rest of the day and thank you again.
You
Thank you so much.
too. Bye.
Bye.